Hello peeps, this is Tango and welcome back to Tango's World of Fics. Today I will be reading two sides of the same coin, old. And this will be chapter 5. Let's get right into that. Midoriya feels like an idiot. Eraserhead could have seen half of his face. Yeah, he covered up his freckles, but Midoriya had no idea if the makeup was still on when he whisked the hero back home. Midoriya sunk into his mattress, clutching a pillow as hard as he could. He sniffed the air for apple cinnamon he was so familiar with, but it wasn't there. The scent had gone away again, just when he wanted it the most. It was always comforting him. After all, it was the smell of the perfume his mother wore. The crisp scent of apples mixing with the wafting cinnamon for the perfect autumn scent. Screw pumpkin spice. Apple cinnamon was the best scent in Midoriya's mind, and he would never change that. He remembered the recipe book that Suki gave him, full of all sorts of things from the cafe, some traditional, some tasty experimental dishes. He sighed, lifting himself from his soft sheets. They had once been All Might, but those were now folded on a shelf in the guest room. The guest room wasn't for guests anymore. It was filled with things that Midoriya couldn't stand to see and made him sad, which included his entire stock of All Might merchandise. He opened the door and down the hall and slipped out. He treaded carefully to the kitchen, seeing the drawing tablet set out in the living room. He looked at the picture of President Mike, and he was using it as a reference. He shook his head. Work is for later, Izu. Right now is time to bake. He chirped to himself, wrapping an apron around his slim figure. As he pulled out the book of the shelving unit, he heard a quick tapping on the door. He felt himself glaring at the wood for a moment before going to check the peephole. While looking outside, he saw nothing, until he looked downward. There was a green package that sat outside his door. He could see clearly that the symbol of UA and an address was on it, so he quickly brought it inside. As the package was set on the counter, he went to go open a cupboard. He took out a few mixing bowls, spatulas, and a mixer. Soon he traveled across the kitchen to grab the ingredients, also grabbing a jar of apple butter and adding it to the filling. As he peeled the apples, a ding came from his phone, signifying a phone call. He looked over and answered it upon seeing it was his mentor. "Why are you calling me at 3 a.m.? he asked, starting to chop the apples. "Ah, Midoriya, I just wanted to make sure you were okay. But what are you cutting?" He heard the speaker ask as he sprinkled cinnamon on the apples. "I'm making apple pie. Would you like me to bring you a slice for tomorrow?" he asked, starting to create the filling completely. "Ah, sure. Do you think you feel well enough to go to school? Or do I need to teach the lessons at your apartment?" the principal asked him, concern obvious in his voice. I think I'll be good enough to go to school. I probably won't be talking to anyone, by the way. Also, never get me to come early again. A bunch of people saw me," he responded, happily starting to prepare the dough. Nezu thanked him again and hung up the call. As Midoriya smothered the dough in pie tin. As Midoriya smothered the dough in the pie tin, he heard the oven's timer go off. As he poured the filling into the tin, his thoughts went to the box. He layered the final layer of the crust and plopped it in the oven, setting a timer along the way. He took a look behind his shoulder, noticing the green box against his countertop. Deciding he had the time, he cracked open the box, looking inside and trying to see past the scarf paper. He peeled it back and spotted a gray uniform and a letter. "Hello, Midoriya. As your mentor, it is important for me to educate you in the matter of social situations. So, as such, every Thursday you will join them, Class 1A, in a group lesson. Feel free to help them if they don't understand anything. But please, for the sanity of their teachers, do not teach them how to A. Make bombs, B. Run a country, C. Take over said country, D. How to use guns, E. How to steal guns, and stealing in generally, and finally, F. How to scare pros. If you do any of those, you will have to teach them a lesson," which is very chaotic. This is also an easy way to befriend one of them. From Nezu, good luck, you'll need it. Midoriya sighed as his hand slid over the red tie. He had no idea how to tie one, and he refused to ask. And so, as the pie baked, he kept trying to untie the tie. Eventually, he got to a point where it looked decent, so he placed it back in the box. A few minutes of drawing passed, and then the screeching of the timer came. He carefully took out the tin and looked at the pie. He felt proud that he was able to do it without help, and a wave of happiness came over him. He purred after the scent of apple cinnamon, and soon that was all that filled the room. He soon was hit with a wave of sleepiness, something uncommon when you have insomnia. A yawn filled his mouth as he traveled to his room, and as soon as he hit the soft sheets, he felt himself drift into unconsciousness. Smoke filled his lungs, and fire licked at his skin. He tried reaching out for his mother, but his arms felt heavy, and he couldn't reach out far enough. He wanted to scream. He wanted to shout for help, but he couldn't bring his voice to do it. A villain had fire shooting out of him, catching the whole building aflame. As he saw his mother pulled away from him, blood dripped from her throat. The world was spinning as his father charged towards and tried to attack the villain. The man saw his father charging and grip his throat, easily crushing it. Blood sloshed against the pavement, drowning out the contents in a red hue. The man let out a wicked smile, approaching Midoriya's hand that lay on the pavement. Well, well, a kid who couldn't do anything. Why is that not surprising? Take this as a warning, kid. Heroes can't save everyone, especially you. The man let out a strangled scream while blood splashed against the child's face. Midoriya let out a sob as the villain fell to the ground, a pole sticking out through the man's chest. Midoriya lifted himself from the rubble and ran, before being drenched in rain. Midoriya shot up in his bed, alarm blaring at his ears, reading 6:30. He shut the alarm off while peeling his soaked blanket from his skin. He let out a pant as he failed to regain his breath. He stripped himself from his now soaked pajamas, now tossing them into the basket across the room. He sighed while grabbing a pair of leggings and a tunic, both shades of gray, but the tunic was darker. He pulled them onto his body, flinching when deciding what putty to put on. He spotted two of his vigilante hoodies in the corner of the closet. He went to move his hand to pull it out, but remembered he couldn't wear it to UA. Instead, he turned around and grabbed the cafe hoodie. It was big on him and comfortable, so he didn't mind wearing it 2 days in a row. As he pulled it over his head, he made a mental note to search his drawers for his present mic headphones. As he walked to the drawers, he saw the headphones hanging on his bedpost. He pulled the headphones on and connected them to his phone. As he slipped the yellow bag over his shoulder, he turned on a playlist he frequented. He hummed lightly along with the music, making sure to not be too loud. As he walked down the stairs, as he hated crowded elevators, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around and looked at the woman in front of him. He soon recognized her as one of the frequent customers of the cafe, a young lady who went by Akane. She had wavy crimson hair and also gotten 2 cherry danishes and a cherry cream mocha. Excuse me, young man, do you know if the cafe sells those yet? I liked going there, and those seemed uber comfortable, she chirped and gave a smile. He pulled out his phone, typing out an explanation that they were still in the test phase. She thanked him and continued down to the station. He silently slipped his card into the reader and entered the silent car. He swayed his head to the music and continued his hour-long journey. Looking through the hero articles out of boredom, he saw a video of Present Mike defeating a villain and effectively capturing him. He smiled to himself. After all, he had grown fond enough of the hero when he stripped his room of hero merch, he left his undamaged. He remembered how once he had been injured himself as Bunny, and the hero had wrapped up his arm, but ended up failing to catch him since he started running. He saw a familiar face after 20 minutes of being on the train. Across the aisle, a friendly face shot a wave at him, to which he ignored. Yeah, it was the redhead from Class 1A. He didn't seem offended at the rude act. The kid had started messaging sometime, bouncing slightly in his seat while doing so. Every once in a while, though, the kid turned over his shoulder to look at Midoriya. Midoriya felt his shoulders tense at every moment, but he tried distracting himself by turning on President Mike's radio. Occasionally, on Tuesday mornings, Mike would talk about an experience he had, or share some nice advice. Today was one of those days. He sighed upon listening to the voice he had grown so familiar with. Hey, listeners! Your host, President Mike, is here this fine Tuesday morning. Today, I'm sharing a short story about bullies. Yep, I was bullied as a kid. I know it seems hopeless sometimes when you are, but that if you are, you tell your teachers and school staff. If you can't trust them, go tell your parents or guardians. If you ever need help, like being trapped in a band room closet, you can always call our help hotline. It can be about mental health or social help and trying to get transferred from your school or really just trying to report the bullying. Now, the time I was trapped in the band closet, I was with my friend, who was small little bean at the time. Now he was scary and tall. We got pushed into the band closet. Now, usually this only happened to me, but they got involved in the small innocent bean, so now I was mad. As my friend tried to reach up to get out through the window, I told him I had it all covered. He gave me a glare and told me that there was no way he trusted me to get us out. I gave him my grand smile and pulled out a bobby pin. He stared at me while sitting on a tuba case. I managed to lockpick the door in a minute, and the kids were outside the door. My friend dragged them to the principal, while I told them it was fine and it happened all the time. I swear the glare he gave the kids and the staff would have killed me if it was directed at me. A friend that helped me report it single-handedly stopped all the bullying. Even if you don't have friends, our hotline can help you instead. We might also give you some friends at the same time, and they might have the same experience. Who knows? The hero continued over stories from when he was bullied. Midoriya held a small smile at the fact that he related to some of those stories. In elementary school, his classmates locked him in a filing cabinet. In middle school, whenever BAKUGOU wasn't around, they would tear apart his work, and he shivered while remembering their quirks being used against his skin. He shook his head and clambered out of the train car, the redhead giving a confused look as he got off a stop early. He made his way to the cafe. He saw Suki approach him. Here, your school starts in like 5 minutes, so take yours and Nezu's tea and go. There's also a strawberry sprinkled donut along with a raspberry one. Have a good day, Izuku-chan, she muttered while giving him a side hug. Midoriya gave her a smile and started to jog off. As he slid a card into UA's gates, he saw Tensei run over to him. As he was swept from his As he was swept up from his feet and placed over the hero's shoulder, he signed, "What's going on?" To which the hero didn't reply. He was satisfied by the fact that the hero was using his quirk to zoom him to ground beta. He hummed along to the tune that was now playing on Mike's radio. As he looked over at the teachers, he spotted President Mike. He gaped for a second before trying to squirm out of the captor's arms. Soon he was placed on the ground in front of Nezu, who had a grin stretched across his face. "Hello, Midoriya. Today we have decided to test you. After all, you are joining Class 1A for every Thursday," he chirped. Midoriya gave a sigh and removed the headphones from his ears before someone noticed. Sadly, the person whose merch it belongs to saw it. "Oh, little listener, you're wearing my merch?" He chirped while walking over. Midoriya visibly flinched. Oh no. But Mike continues strutting over. The hero motioned for the headphones, to which Midoriya twitched before handing them over. The pro hero took out a gold marker and autographed the headphones. He stared at the headphones in his hands. A hot substance slipped from his eyes. His throat has closed up and he let out a sob. Sorry, I'm so sad. I love that so much. Okay, 1 sec. I'm gonna recover. President Mike crouched down and enveloped. What? He embraced Midoriya in a half hug. That's not the original wording, but I changed it. Nezu seemed to have a look of shock and happiness on his face, before lightly leaning down and patting Midoriya's head. Midoriya turned to grab President Mike in a full hug. The pro froze for a moment before returning the hug. Midoriya's sobs had died down into sniffles before he let go. Nezu looked so proud and moved his paws in sign language. I didn't know you liked loud, present Mike. If you had told me that, I would have introduced you sooner. Are you happy about getting his autograph and a hug? Midoriya happily nodded his head up and down, almost to the point where it hurt his neck. Hello, I am here for the meeting, a voice boomed before coughing. As Midoriya turned his head, he wanted to scream. He didn't ever like seeing All Might, no matter what form the man took. He felt his feet start to back away before a hand, more like a paw, held onto his wrist. Midoriya looked frantically at the paw on his wrist. His mind was screaming to him to run away, to escape from the people around him. They're bad. They will hurt you. Get away. Leave. Go far away before they punish you. Leave. It all screamed at him, and his head was pounding against his skull, pain shooting from his body. His mind kept screaming at him to the point where his legs collapsed. He wanted to run, but he couldn't move. He wanted to scream, but his throat was clogged. He felt hot liquid escape his mouth as he tried to yell, but nothing worked. Nothing would ever work. Everyone was an enemy right now, and his body took over as he choked on his saliva. Nezu had tried to ground Midoriya to his surroundings. He had tried to talk to the boy out of his panic attack, but the boy seemed to dig himself further. Nezu grabbed Midoriya's wrists when he tried to pull away, but that just made the boy stare and try and pry it off. All Might tried stepping forward to the boy, but that just caused him further panic. Nezu saw saliva hanging out of the boy's mouth as the kid tried to speak but choked farther. Stay back, Yagi! Nezu yelled while trying his best to have a grounding hand on the boy. He saw the boy let out a whimper, continuing to struggle against the principal. The boy managed to wrangle himself free, but he was tied up by Aizawa's weapon as he approached the scene. What the hell happened? I haven't seen a panic attack that bad in years, he grumbled while holding the boy. Yagi came over for the exam, and it seems he triggered something with my student, Nezu responded with a concerned expression. He saw a recovery girl coming over as quickly as possible, a sturdy hand wrapped around a small bag. When she saw Midoriya and Aizawa's arms, still sobbing and trying to escape, she frowned. Yagi, you were told not to go near him, so why did you? She asked while rubbing a handkerchief over the boy's cheeks. Yagi seemed shocked at the slight venom in her voice, but straightened up nonetheless. I, didn't realize it was that bad, he said as if it were a question. Aizawa sighed and swore a little under his breath. What did you do to this kid? Midnight spoke up from the other staff members. All Might frowned and mumbled an answer. What was that? She spoke with a tad of venom, though she had just met the kid. I told him a quirkless child could never be a hero. That all they are is a liability, and that would be useless, he said, meeting the principal's eyes. That's not everything, Yagi, Nezu said with a scary gleam in his eyes. All Might excused himself as he felt the situation turn against him. He used the excuse of, I doubt the building will be standing along with nobody in charge of the first years. The hero hadn't noticed that all the first years had gathered in the gym, a few extra heroes around to observe them. As Nezu turned back to his students, he saw both Present Mike and Eraserhead had enveloped, had gathered him in a hug. Okay. He remembered how they had a son Midoriya's age, who, when they first adopted him, he had panic attacks. Nezu felt a small smile form on his face as he rubbed the boy's back. He let the heroes comfort the boy, as he had no idea how to comfort humans correctly. He called off the meeting of the teachers, allowing them to collect their students or go back to grading. Nezu looked at the group for a moment, an idea going on in his head. Midoriya, are you better now? I think there is someone you might get along with, he said with a smirk. Yeah, Nezu realized that if they actually became friends, he would actually have to wear a crown. But that was worth it to see Midoriya make a new friend, right? Notes. Do y'all want something because, 300 kudos and nearly 3,000 hits? I'm shooketh. I mean, Amy, can do art, or Candy can write some sort of one-shot based on this, but do you all want, like, a story? Should Suki and Rini be included a bunch or nah? Okay, that's just notes. I'm kind of like, I probably read that really badly. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I wrote a few notes here. What was that last thing that I wanted to say? Oh yeah, the Shinzo thing. I'll write that down because I might forget. I have memory problems, so, like, I write down things. I, like, just started doing this thing where I'm gonna, like, write down notes for each chapter that I record while I'm recording the chapter. So I'm like, okay, I want to remember that. Okay, first thing I wanted to say. So when he felt, when he felt tired, I thought, oh yeah, when he felt tired, when Izuku felt tired after making the pie, I was like, is that midnight? Because he was like, there was like smoke or something also involved in whatever he said. Wait, let me go back and read it. Let's see. Yeah, it says, a yawn filled his mouth as he traveled to his room. Wait. No, it says he purred after the scent of the apple cinnamon. It soon filled his nostrils. It hit a wave of sleepiness, blah, 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 blah. Something. Soon he felt he drifted into unconsciousness. Okay, anyways, whatever that was. So I was like, wait a second, midnight? And then it just continued. It was a nightmare. So not midnight. I don't know. Like, the first thing, I literally said midnight. And so I had to redo that take. So that was kind of sad. But anyways, oh, the present Mike signing the headphones. It was so cute. Oh my god, that's so adorable. If I ever write a fic, I want to do that. But then that would be stealing that idea. I'll ask them if I could steal their idea. But I probably won't write a fic, so it doesn't matter. So maybe I won't ask. I mean, if I do decide I want to write a fic, I'll ask. Anyways, sorry. I just think that's so adorable. Ay, la puta madre, muy lindo. It's so sweet. I love that he just, like, signed it. He's like, here, let me sign that. And they got a hug, and it was so sweet. Ay, muy lindo. Ay, mi corazón. Sorry. Oh, my gosh. That was, like, way too crazy of a reaction. It's, like, not even a big thing. But what's even cuter is the flower crowns. I love them. They're so pretty. I love flower crowns a lot. By the way, there's a thing called the Mayfair at my old school where my brother goes. I don't go to that school anymore, but, and they have this Mayfair where they make, like, flower crowns and they dance around the maypole and blah, blah, blah. But I used to make the flower crowns there, and whenever I go to watch my brother do it, I make them too, because I really like to do them. They're so fun, and I mean, I'm not the best at them, but Izuku seems to be amazing in this fic. I just love the flower crown thing. I feel like this should have been called, like, flower crown. Maybe not. I just really like flower crowns, okay? So, like, that's, yeah. Flower crown! Haha. Yay. It's muy lindo. Anyways, enveloped. Is that how you said? How to say enveloped? Unveloped. Wait, I can hear that. Enveloped? That sounds wrong. Enveloped? Not envelope. Enveloped. Wait. Let's see this video. Hello? Can you say the word, please?
Enveloped.
Oh, enveloped? So is it enveloped or enveloped? Okay, it's enveloped. I can't say that word. It's so weird. I don't like it. It feels bad. Okay, and then the last thing I was going to say is the Shinzo. I love that he's going to make them friends. And one of the tags, I think it is Shindeku, like, one of the like, relationships. Yeah, it's Izuku Midoriya, Shinzo Hitoshi. So, hopefully they're together, and hopefully that'll happen before the end of the thing. Because I really love this. This is very nice. Okay, we're not very far into this fic, but, like, I should see what the percentages we are into it. I'm too lazy for that, so never mind. I feel like I'm not consistent with my different voices for different characters, though. That's a little bit sad. I try to be, but, like, I always forget by the next chapter. Anyways, so this is the second chapter I've recorded in one day in, like, the same hour or something. So I'm gonna go This has been nice. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. This is Tingo signing off. Bye!